Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo Sports Center. I am Don, and today there is some really crazy news. I'm a Bills fan. I just really wish that this season could be over because every week there's something new to torment us Bills fans. Something new and something embarrassing that comes out about this team that makes us not want to root for them anymore. And we have a new one, and you can clearly tell it's referring to Sean McDermott now. Sean McDermott, the walls have been closing in for quite some time. I made a video a couple weeks ago discussing whether or not the Bills should fire him, whether you think the Bills should fire him. Well, a recent article, series of articles actually, posted by Tyler Dunne of the GoLongTouchdown.com website. He's not a he kind of is a beat reporter for the Buffalo Bills. I don't really know. I've never heard of Tyler Dunne before today. But these articles are sending shockwaves around Bills Mafia right now. So I thought, I haven't read them yet. I have heard whispers about what's in them. But I'd like to read it first and let you know how I think as we read through and look on. But from what I'm hearing, it's not really all that glamorous for Sean McDermott. It's not looking too good for him in this one. So let's kick this off. Of course, you guys, I will link all three of these articles down in the description. Full credit goes to Tyler Dunne, Go Long website. I've heard it's a good article. My brother read it. He sent this over to me and said, Don, you have to look at this. So now here we are. Go read this after this video, but let's start here. I assume that it's gonna start. Yeah, it's gonna start talking about how he chokes, and I also thought some of this because Sean McDermott is a choker. He has choked in some of the biggest games of his Bills tenure. This one is called the Blame Game. So the Super Bowl window's closing. Yeah, it is. Those who worked with head coach on day-to-day basis predicted all of this months in advance because they've seen how McDermott operates on a day-to-day basis, how tangibly nervous he gets in close games, how he has truly never appreciated his gift from the football gods Josh Allen. I feel like we all could have said that. That's pretty apparent based on how he acts because he plays not to lose rather than play to win. I said it in a rant video a little while ago. He plays not to lose rather than play to win. How he's quick to blame, I didn't know that. That's why one coach in June, wow, it's pretty recent, began by asking a simple question. If they fail again this year, what does ownership do with Sean? 3 seconds later, he answered his own hypothetical. Next year, if they fail, you know who'll be the first person he serves up? Ken Dorsey. Guess what's happened? Ken Dorsey is gone. Wow. Yeah, if that's really true, because I did read before this 25 sources this guy used, Tyler Dunne. None of them went on the record. This is all hypothetical. So, if we're going to view it in that sense, sure, maybe he's just making up a full load of crap. But so far, very quickly already into it, it seems to line up with how it looks like from the outside. The coach wasn't quite sure how McDermott would manage to put Dorsey's head on a stick. After all, it's the head coach's beloved defense that has melted in 4 straight postseason losses. It ended a long time. Yeah, it did. Pointing a finger at his bread-winning quarterback. Watch. If they sputter at all during this year, the narrative's going to be the offense. It was. It was! Holy crap! It was on the offense. Everything was on the offense. Although the offense was playing terrible. Look back at the Broncos game, the Jaguars game, the Patriots game, the Eagles game. All of those losses you can pin on the defense. You can pin those ones on the defense. They have melted down on game-losing drives to other inferior opponents. On cue, seeds of the blame were loss to an agonizing, this one, the Denver game, was on Sean McDermott. It absolutely was. Most coaches in a high-pressure situation like that would just keep the defense on the field. No reason to bring on your special teams guy. But they did, And after the game, Sean McDermott blamed Matthew Smiley, the special teams coordinator. So, I mean, if we're going to look at it in terms of blame game, this seems to be, again, right on cue. Because, I mean, I've guessed that, and I think almost all of Bills Mafia can guess that. It's great. What happened? So this guy's going to pin it solely on Sean McDermott. He's a coaching relic, routinely paralyzed by fear in late games. Yes, someone said it. Someone said it. He never imagines what could go right with 20 seconds left in regulation, instead forever horrified of what could go wrong, oblivious to the reality that he employs one of the sport's most talented quarterbacks. The word you'll hear constantly from those who've been around McDermott is tight. He's so incomprehensibly tight, they say, players cannot help but stiffen up themselves, as if the head coach uses the 2-minute warning to administer mass lobotomies on his team. Yeah, again, makes sense. You look at all these games all these heartbreaking games that they've lost. At some point, blame has to come to the coaching staff and solely on the shoulders of Sean McDermott. He's a blamer. Coaches see a boss who preaches accountability while taking none himself. As the Titanic inches towards the iceberg, this captain shoves passengers aside to secure his own lifeboat. Wow, damn. That's harsh. This is the man. Well, I mean, we look at here. This is why we keep him around, right? He ended the drought. He cleaned up the mess Rex Ryan made. That's correct. He was graceful during the DeMar Hamlin situation. Was absolutely on his player's side. Won a lot in my book after that game. But, of course, then the Cincinnati divisional round loss happened. Now this year has happened. And that's what this Mr. Dunne is saying here. But if the goal is to win a Super Bowl, the Bills have one option. Fire the head coach before it's too late. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Sean McDermott, I think his expiration date hit during the 13 seconds. It hit during the 13 seconds. He should have been fired then. Most coaches would have been fired after a loss like that. Losing in the playoffs with 13 seconds left because of the defense, one that you have created. Usually McDermott would get fired, but no, he wasn't. This 3-part series, 25 coaches, personnel, and other team sources. Yeah, I mean, once again, granted anonymity, like that's, oh, look at that, right? I feel like, I promise, I have not read this before now, but right here it says, most know exactly when the McDermott era broke, at Arrowhead, 13 seconds. Execution error, insulting, he never owned the defeat privately. And his defense doomed Buffalo. There was zero accountability to delusional proportions. One assistant coach remembers McDermott saying in the locker room that the offense scored too fast. You gotta be... Did he really? He really said something like that? He really said something like that. He continued to point the finger, saying, you guys need to get away. Recharge, reflect, and figure out what you can do to better avoid this happening again. Never takes accountability. None. Zero. And I agree with this. Tyler Dunne, you're doing some good work here. Maybe your articles will get McDermott finally fired. So in the interest of covering this team to the best of your ability, we've brought you the Isaiah McKenzie Show. It's time to sift through why everything's gone so south. Huh. The shame of it all is that this should have been Buffalo Bills' golden age. The hierarchy of most important employees should have been obvious that fateful night. 1, Allen, the human buffalo of quarterback. 2, Brendan being the driving force behind drafting that QB. And McDermott, the man who ended the drought. Rings are missing. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Complacency. And again, complacency is always going to hurt the Bills and Sabres. You know why? Because we have a complacent owner at the top. Terry Pegula is a cheap, frugal man who won't even pay for his own stadium. Yet he keeps employing Sean McDermott, who, as mentioned in this article, is complacent, has zero accountability for anything that he does. And it makes absolutely total sense. It makes total sense. Let's go into the second part here, lost in translation here. I mean, this talks a little bit about his rise to the top, but they give him credit, and I feel like they don't give him enough credit here by saying that Sean McDermott has been a fine defensive coach the last 2 decades. I think he's been more than fine. That's the reason why we brought him into Buffalo, and I feel like we all forget 2019. Really good defense. 2018 started off bad, but then they turned into something really good. It was in even 2020, things were good until that AFC Championship game against Kansas City. His defense was playing good. I feel like it was really 2021 where the defense started to take a turn for the worst. But, I mean, we forget about that first half of McDermott, though, don't we? Just to play a little devil's advocate here. He's the one that built this defense. He's the one that helped build the organizational culture. But if what Mr. Dunne is saying is that the organizational culture is actually not very good, then, I mean, you're going to have to get a guy who will replace that. And now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, but they should bring in Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll, I don't really think that's a good move either. You're seeing how his time in New York has gone so far. So even if you want to fire McDermott, even if he's the problem with this, maybe we are just doomed to being a middling, maybe Super Bowl contender, but most likely just a playoff contender. Maybe we should just settle for that, Bills fans, because remember, it took us 18 years to get back to this point. Maybe we should just just settle for this middling existence. I don't know. That's just, playing the other side here. But I still fully believe that we should fire McDermott. And then, this second part here goes through. But that's the tricky thing about intent. A player could intend to block the man out in front. Blah, yeah. Take that Niagara Falls speech. Waterway that spills into the falls. She drifted, lodged. He put up. That's not serious. He put up a speech talking about the poor woman that drove into the Niagara Falls. He studied up and pieced together a speech. Quote, the coach explained how members of the Coast Guard did everything they could to save the woman. He built up the drama. Players held on tight for an aspiring apex, and nothing. He said the woman died. End of story. The complete absence of a point had some players biting their tongue, trying their hardest not to laugh. And those in attendance will never forget training camp of 2019. The memory, I ain't thinking about that. They call it the 9/11 speech, and it's seared into their memory forever. Oh boy. I mean, if we go back, I think this is the part that I did see online. Here we go. This is the 9/11 speech, folks. Back in 2019, Sean McDermott said the 9/11 speech. Quote, McDermott's morning address began innocently enough. He told the entire team they needed to come together. But then, sources on hand say he used a strange model. The terrorists on September 11th, 2001. Now, Terry Pegula, I'm sure you're really proud that your head coach is trying to draw inspiration from the terrorists that committed the atrocities on 9/11. Bravo, Sean McDermott. I'm sure this really went well. And I've read this before, and just to quickly summarize, he tried to say how they were able to organize and put together a reasonable plan that actually worked. Not at any time did he think that this may be in poor taste. No, not at all. No, he did not think that this could be in poor taste. Instead, he continued on with the story, and at the end he asked his players what was their biggest obstacle. A veteran answered, TSA. Again, no point to the stories. Now, in the third part here, that's the second part. Third part here, and these are, you have to pay for the full access, and I highly encourage all of you guys still watching here to pay for it. But, oh boy. Just looking back, oh yeah, this must have been really recent. Philadelphia, Josh Allen is just a different breed. Unlike his boss, Allen does not come remotely close to assigning blame, doesn't embarrass receivers on national television, doesn't snipe into ear holes on the sidelines, doesn't kindly remind the public what McDermott said back in March when, in truth, it's fully within his rights to alert your attention to these train wreck comments. When in reality, this is everything a former Bills assistant coach meant when he said this. This team is forced to overcome the head coach. Everything a former teammate meant by McDermott serving as a drop of poison. Yeah. Sean McDermott, I mean, this is just damning, folks. It is absolutely damning. All of these articles, once again, links to all three will be in the description down below, but this is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing if you're Sean McDermott. This is quite spectacularly disgusting. And it's confirming everything, unfortunately, that I've come to believe, that we have a coach that tries to use 9/11 as inspiration, that tries to use a woman's death over the Niagara Falls as inspiration, a man that is afraid to lose. He is afraid to lose more so than trying and motivated to win a football game. Now, he's done a lot of work, Sean McDermott, but if anything in this article is actually even remotely true, Terry Pegula should seriously consider getting rid of Sean McDermott. We need to maybe have to move on. Keep Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane has done phenomenal work. He is the brains behind getting most of this roster construction under place. But if you're Terry Pegula, I think Sean McDermott is finally being proven as the problem that he actually is. Not that the problem he may be, but if anything in here is true, he is the problem. And the Bills need to get rid of problems couldn't be soon enough, you know? I'm sorry I stuttered there. It couldn't be nearly soon enough. I would say mid-season. That's what I was trying to say. But maybe we should wait to the end of the year until it's on full display how crazy and spectacular this disaster is. But, folks, what do you think? Read the articles. Go give Tyler Dunne some love for some hard work he's done here. I was Don. This is Buffalo SportsCenter. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I hope to see all of you in the future videos. All right. Peace out, everyone.